Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Alex Perala. I am joined by my co-hosts Tony Bitsionis. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Alex.
And Dave Barkley. Hello, Dave.
Hey Alex, happy to be here. Always nice to talk to you.
Likewise, we've got a special episode today. It was a rare opportunity for us to actually go out in the field. The whole ID Talk crew, we went to the Toronto Police College, which is quite close to ID Talk headquarters, because the Facial Identification Scientific Working Group had selected Toronto for its annual in-person meeting, and a close friend slash industry contact that we know alerted us to this. New people involved in FISWG, as it's called, and suggested that we get in touch and talk to some of those people. So we leapt at the opportunity. It's a group that's doing very interesting work, as you'll hear in the conversation to come. And it was a great opportunity to actually go and meet people who were working behind the scenes in some really important areas of identity technology, and just chat with them face to face. So I thought it was fascinating. What do you guys think? Tony, did
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
Dave?
I just wanted to say that it was a fun field trip, I think, for us as a trio. That
yeah.
we had a really nice time just going to Etobicoke.
Pack into a van and just go on a road trip.
Yeah, we took my minivan, uh, which is had
Yeah.
ample room.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
it
quite
was
spacious.
very,
Thank you for that,
very
Dave.
Thank
clean too. Yeah.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
no, I thought, yeah, I agree, Alex. It was great. It was fun to be there in person for a change and to learn about FISWIG. And I think I was really just taken aback by the fact that the people participating there are sent there by their various departments around the world on their dime. FISWIG is it's all volunteer, and after hearing just how much work goes into this week-long meeting, it was just impressive to get to speak to these people, and we met people from all over the place. I mean, I just thought it was like a really cool experience.
Yeah, I agree. And like on that note, the fact that um, like when you meet these people in person and you're talking face to face, it really becomes clear how seriously they take the work, and
Yeah.
that they're actually very aware of how what they do impacts the real world. They take it very, very seriously. They're serious people. Um, even to a point where sometimes our natural jokey attitude maybe seemed a little out of place, but they're serious people, very friendly people as well. And yeah, it was fascinating. Dave, do you have any quick takeaways before we get to the talk?
Yeah, I think they liked the jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our guests mentioned at one point that they're obsessed with faces and know a lot about faces. And there's a part of the podcast where I asked them to read our faces, and they were very kind and didn't describe us directly, but they said like, if I was going to read your face right now, this is how I would do it, and that was very entertaining for me.
Yeah, that
Agreed.
was definitely something that stuck with me afterwards as well. And they were very gracious guests. On that note, I should just quickly, they're going to introduce themselves in the segment to come, but just to quickly say who we were talking to, we had Daniel Heltemus from the Arizona Department of Public Safety, where he's a sergeant. He is the chair of the Facial Identification Scientific Working Group. And our other guests were affiliated with various governments. Carolyn Duteau is with the government of Canada. Aniela Peters is with Australia's government. They will get into what their roles are in the segment to come. Just a quick note that we were out in the field. We were not in our high-tech recording studio downtown. So the audio is a little lower in quality than usual because we were all kind of crammed into a room at the Toronto Police College, but that did make for a much more intimate and authentic atmosphere, as you'll hear in the discussion. So enjoy.
The amount that we learn from just having conversations and asking questions that come up during a chat is like a fast track. Yeah. So
On that note, thank you very much for joining us. Can we do a brief intro of each of you, if you don't mind? Just
Yeah, so my name is Daniel Heltemus. I work for the Arizona Department of Public Safety in the United States. I'm a police officer. I've been a law enforcement officer for over 23 years. I'm currently heavily involved with I supervise our forensic images unit, which is all things audio, video forensics, with a heavy emphasis on facial recognition. I work out of our state fusion center. It's a multi-agency squad where we provide investigative leads for unknown subjects through mainly surveillance videos and stuff like that. I'm currently the chair of the Facial Identification Scientific Working Group, FISWG. So thank you for having us all here today. We appreciate that. And we're glad to talk to you about kind of what our organization does and all about us.
welcome. We're really excited.
Thank you.
How long have you been the chair?
I'm just expiring my third year as being chair. Before that, I was vice chair for a little bit, and before that, I was just a regular delegate of the organization.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Aniela?
Hi.
Hi.
Anelia from Australia. So I work for the Australian government and have spent roughly the last 25 years in law enforcement, immigration, and other government areas. I think I'd call myself a forensic scientist, which is where my education background comes from. Originally a crime scene examiner, and about 15 years ago I branched into facial identification and love it. I'm face obsessed. All things face. I have such a passion for the discipline, particularly children and child abuse victim identification is probably my area of most passion and most kind of study and work that I've done for the last probably 10 years. And I've been with FISWG probably since around the start of my face career. Been in the vice chair role now for 3 years, and just really love contributing and making sure that we're kind of keeping the science and the practice there behind the technology. Just love it.
Yeah. Is it FISWG, is it more scientists or more law enforcement, or like completely like scientist, law enforcement scientists?
Gosh, I think it's a real mix. We've got a lot of law enforcement, but academics, particularly recently, we've had quite an influx of academia come in, which is really good. And
various government
and international is just from the early days back in Carol and I.
2009 was the start.
Yeah, it was very law enforcement focused and very US focused, and it's really branched out now internationally. Like I think our international membership versus US membership is probably on par.
Well,
Just great.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that, but just the third voice that we just heard, Carolyn.
So Carolyn, I'm the representative from Canada here today, with the Canada Border Services Agency, and I've been working in the face space now for about 10 plus years. Working in the forensic side as well, so working in a forensic lab, and I've been involved in FISWG for almost the same amount of time, and really, I would say also involved in training, or I think Anelia and probably Daniel as well, do training for frontline and kind of like making sure that standards are at their forensic level, but also down throughout the various levels of operation in different areas. So that's me, and I have a twin. Well, this face thing, it seems to just be in our blood for some reason. I don't know why.
It's interesting. So then about FISWG, and that is the Facial Identification Scientific Working Group. Just broadly speaking, for those who might not know, can we just summarize its work? Is it mostly, excuse me, is it mostly like working on standards? Is it research? Can you talk a little? Whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, so I'll take it. So we're like we said, it's an international organization, which just boggles my mind because this is completely voluntary. There's no payment. Everyone that participates in this program or this organization does it on their own dollar, their own dime, and their own time. Um, the passion that goes into it, it's made up of subject matter experts literally from around the world. And even with the agencies that we talked about, there's even the private vendors and stuff that also participate. And they participate because they want to make sure they're doing this right, ethically, correctly, for the community to make sure they get it right, for their customer base and just, for the good of society. So we're, like I said, made up of all those different things, but we develop standards and best practices for the discipline of facial identification. And facial identification, you'll hear that term, you hear facial recognition. The actual discipline itself is the facial identification, but those both words are kind of used back and forth depending on your audience and who's using it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, is there a difference between facial identification and facial recognition, or is that interchangeable?
It's a loaded question.
So
the nerd.
Yeah, there's kind of like degrees to it.
Yeah.
So we break the discipline down into three kind of categories. There's a face examiner, a face reviewer, and assessor. Your assessor being at the bottom would be more like your person at an access control area, maybe at the airport, customs, border patrol agent type of thing. And they're, generally looking at a person and their ID card, looking back and forth. Oh, yep, that looks like the same person. So that's the assessor. It's the least rigorous. And then we have a reviewer, which is more or less the person that's looking, usually, but not always, using a facial recognition system, where they're taking a snip from a video surveillance, they're putting it through a known database, it's running through an algorithm, it's coming back with a candidate list, and they're adjudicating that candidate list to go, hey, do any of these people look similar? But they're not going to the degree where they're calling that person out saying, yes, that is the person to this degree. And then I'm going to let you two ladies, because you're more the examiner, exactly what the examiner does and how that's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, so as an examiner, I would normally work with facial recognition technology. We can get candidates coming from that we need to do a comparison, but generally is where I would get unknown images and asked to compare that to either a known image. It could be looking at a series of people. Is this the same person? Or it could be, okay, we know this is John Smith. Here's a CCTV image. We need you to do a one-to-one comparison. So it's fully manual, where we use morphological features of the face. Very rigorous, can be quite time consuming, and it's going through feature by feature to assess similarities, dissimilarities, and then coming up with an opinion at the end of that examination to say, I support it's the same person, or I don't support that it's the same person, or I don't know. The images could be not great, the features aren't there to look at. So it's not always a sort of trying to identify or exclude. Sometimes it's I just don't know.
So is FISWG mostly concerned with human evaluators, or how much is its work now dealing with AI type systems or computer vision?
So we actually have 4 subcommittees under our organization. The first, not in any particular order, but we have a training subcommittee where they're developing best practices and standards on how to train, the face reviewer, assessor, examiner. And just talking about the training that goes into that. The second subcommittee we have is a one-to-one subcommittee, and they're more about talking about the actual face comparison of comparing. Mentioned the morphological exam. So there's actually 18 points that we look on a face doing a morphological exam, and each one of those 18 places breaks down into several other sub areas of the face. Using the ACE-B method, they go through that. So the one-to-one really talks about doing that comparison and documenting that comparison and things of that. The third subcommittee we have is our systems and capture, and they're a lot smarter than me, because remember, I'm just the cop in the room. So they're the ones that are more talking about the systems that perform these functions, and how to set up a system and how to evaluate systems and stuff like that. And then the fourth one we have is a glossary subcommittee to make sure we're using the appropriate terms and to make sure we're defining terms that we use throughout all these documents as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an oversimplification to ask you how biometric technology has affected, your jobs, but I guess I'm still gonna ask you. And I'm kind of curious, like a lot of what you've all already described, did it work completely differently before? Did the introduction of facial recognition and like all these, new technologies and their evolution, did it introduce new practices that just would have been impossible beforehand? Was there like an analog equivalent? How has it made your jobs more, um, I don't know, not more difficult, but just change the scope of what you look for?
Gosh, it's a great question. I'll probably answer a little bit, then maybe the other guys can answer from a different perspective how facial recognition technology has evolved. And from my experience, from when I started 15 years ago to what it is now, some things have been helped by the technology. Like the technology can help you find that needle in a haystack with face. But then moving to that manual comparison side where you're actually doing that rigorous process. For me personally, the technology has almost sometimes made my job harder. Like the face of the systems and the candidate list that they return can now be so similar. The actual process of doing that comparison, the human side of it, takes a lot longer because you've really got the systems 15 years ago, you get your matches or your candidates back and you're like,
Yeah,
that's easy. That's not the same person, or that is the same person. Now the systems and the work that they do, I personally find it harder to be adjudicating candidates from those systems. But the actual manual, if you just gave me 2 images and said, can you compare these 2 people, is probably the same. I think that our processes across time have evolved a lot. Even our, the lists and guidelines that we have make my job a lot easier now than what it was. And we know from experience, 15 years, 20 years, that they're actually working.
yeah.
I'm sure if that's to add.
Yeah, I can't speak from a work perspective for using the automated technology, but I would just say, listening to you and thinking about the question, where it's pushed the group really, because it's brought a lot more attention in general. We can all recognize that globally. There's a lot more attention on biometrics, on facial recognition, sort of taken everything that we do almost to a new level because there's new scrutiny. So maybe it has become more difficult in some side of the workflow because of those that have introduced the technology, especially that we're doing a manual comparison only before. But on the other hand, I think it's also driven us to make sure that we do have better standards, better best practices globally, and it's kind of helped facilitate that conversation. And there's a lot more voices that are coming in from a lot of different angles, different players now, that kind of pushes up what we're developing here in the FISWG, because we're getting a lot more interest now, and there's outside interest. So we also have to make sure that we're really doing a good job in what we're putting out, because we are recommending best practices and standards of how to work in this discipline. So I think that that's key.
Those answers are way better than my question.
It is funny though that you mentioned like the scrutiny and how it sounds like there wasn't a ton of scrutiny before this stuff got automated. It's like
It's different.
yeah, when it's human review, maybe people are just intrinsically more comfortable with it somehow, and then as soon as you introduce some sort of AI system, it's like, wait a sec. Are you sure yeah, I guess it's like unease about passing that over to automated systems. Is my guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The people would be worried it gets out of control or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our biggest take, I think, as an organization is that you got to have a human in the loop. At the end of the day, there has to be a human reviewing this information. So, it's not necessarily a lights out process. We have to have that, and not only a human, but one that's trained, competent, and that understands what they're looking at, and what they're doing, involved in this process to make sure it's done properly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So.
It's got to be easier to kind of explain this to the average person, and not just say we're handing off tasks to machines or to, whatever, AI or an algorithm or something. You say that this is technology that's helping people do their jobs in a way that just wasn't possible 15 years ago or 5 years ago or a month ago in today's pace.
Yeah, I mean, for me, from the law enforcement side, it's a game changer. I'm the street cop. That's where I came from. And now that everything is recorded, even if you're not getting recorded by a surveillance video,
Yeah,
the person's not calling 911. They're recording it to get it on YouTube or social media. So they're yelling at somebody while they're holding their phones. Hey, somebody call 911 while I record this action.
Yeah.
And then when, law enforcement gets there, they have a video of who, committed that, or a video of other witnesses that we need to get identified. And it's almost on every single case that we go on nowadays. It's not being able to have this kind of technology and then at the end have a human do the right thing with that information to follow up. It's just changed the way we do business.
To the human in the loop point that you made, I can speak, like speaking as editor of a site
I think
that,
they say speaking as a human.
speaking as a human, arguable.
Yeah, protesting a little too much. Huh?
Certainly. Here's what I know about humans. So yeah, I was just gonna say, speaking as an editor who covers a lot of facial recognition stuff, the stories that blow up when I see something that draws a lot of scrutiny from mainstream media or from, like, this would be like Wired or something, a publication like that. It when police come under fire for it, it's very often because procedures were not followed properly, and there was an over reliance on an automated system. Somebody makes an arrest based on a single match through some software, and it's wrong. And it's very counterproductive because the more responsible police departments almost always say, we have oversight, we have human oversight, we have a procedure. This is just to help us. It's just a tool we're using to help us in our investigation. But a few bad apples draw a lot of controversy, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, we've had a lot of like, we report on police departments around the world using different types of facial recognition and biometric tech pretty frequently. And just off the top of my head, there's like almost a string of good news coming out of Scotland, and recently, was it the Regina Police?
Yeah, that was the
Inmate cell monitoring, and then, as Alex alluded to earlier, there was one case, I think it was in Toronto, of a false positive facial recognition match for someone, and like it led to a wrongful arrest. And that was like a case that had been ongoing for years. But for every one of those, there's a dozen of testimonials from police departments all over the world that can say, we have implemented this technology for the last X number of years, and here are the numbers to show how many lives it saved, how many arrests it led to, the benefit impacts that it's having. And that just seems to be ramping up.
But Aniela, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that you were focused, I don't know, primarily, but to a large extent on child exploitation. One thing that I have observed or wondered about, I guess, is whether this technology can help to alleviate the psychological burden of investigators just by automating a lot of the work. Have you seen that, or is it, because I'm just curious, because you mentioned earlier how it's kind of added to your workload in a way.
Yes. So there is software and technology that can take that human processing. It's learning what it's looking for, and clumping images into different groups, and that obviously a human doesn't have to go through that. It doesn't probably alleviate the actual manual one-to-one that's probably the primary work that I would do. Is that it's actually, okay, we've got these images that have probably been processed by different systems and technology and software. Okay, now can you tell me, is this child the same child in this video or photo? Or so it probably hasn't changed that. It's the technology that's led to the human being able to do it, which is great, not great. I love that we can use this discipline and methods to be able to kind of help in this type of crime. I hate the work. It's not great work, but it's very rewarding. And
Yeah,
particularly love, like, it's the type of stuff that, like, you don't have DNA, you don't have fingerprints, you've got a face. And yeah, I just love that we can actually use that for this type of crime.
This is a very important question. You both mentioned that you're face obsessed. Could you like tell us what type of faces we have? Like, just give us like a reading. Like you mentioned the 18 points. Like, do I have like
Sense of humor. Very witty.
This is what I wanted. Yes, thank you.
So there's like a face reading, like similar to a palm reading going on?
Yeah.
Just want to compliment.
Yeah.
That's why we came.
But like, if you would like go and like looking at like comparing someone's two faces in the course of the job, would you be like, oh, they got like
It's like, oh, there's that angry
number one,
brow.
big ears, number two, yeah, triangle of sadness, and number three.
It'd be like, from a training perspective, when we're training people and educating on how to compare faces, we like often use the scenario, you know, if I sent you out into a crowded shopping mall and said, you know, go find the guy with the dark blue shirt, he's got brown hair, blue eyes, whatever, you'd be like, if I said to you, he's got close set eyes, his ears are aligned with his, you know, the top of his eyes, or he's got his nostrils flare, like, it's kind of using that different language. Like, we don't say you have a big nose and you have a small nose, you have close set eyes and you have wide set eyes. It's just having those features there that when you're actually comparing the two, we've got different kind of characteristics and features to give. So, you know, if I said to someone like, go find, he's got close set eyes and a prominent Adam's apple and a widow's peak up the top of his hair, or say this, it's a bit weird to be on a podcast and not being able to show you. I can tell you this one, the folds that come from your nose down to your mouth are called the nasolabial folds.
Wow.
All right. A colleague of mine really likes the mentolabial sulcus.
Yeah.
It's one of his favorites.
Yeah.
Me too.
I guess this would be more for you, Daniel, but anyone can take this. Just talk a little bit about, like, aside from this conference and getting together, what interdepartmental cooperation and working together, how does that kind of look like in practice?
Well, it's big because there's in this discipline, there's so many different unique cases that it's involved with. Like I said, like, it's whether a one-to-many search or a one-to-one search, and then whether we have people in our organization that are part of, you know, labs that are doing this. We have ones that are on the street doing this, to all the different levels, to the systems, to the engineer people. So getting all together and understanding the full concept of this discipline and what needs to be done really helps us understand the technology, how to make it better, and how to make sure we're following it correctly. I did want to rewind a little bit. You know, you mentioned a few bad cases that were out there, and I can't think of any more than less than 10 that I've heard of ever. This technology has been around a long time.
Yeah.
And you said, you know, for every one, there's a dozen. I would say there's hundreds of thousands of successes.
Yeah.
And then when it came down to those ones that failed, and anytime that somebody's locked up that shouldn't have been locked up is not acceptable. I mean, we never want that to ever happen. But that came down, we wouldn't say, we've talked about it in Linked as an organization, that it didn't come at the reviewer level, the assessor level, or examiner level, but it came up with a follow-up of what law enforcement did or didn't do, because they put probably too much weight on it. I would say to those organizations, well, how did you do the initial examination? How did you get to there? And then did you document what you did properly? And that documentation, did you give that to the investigator going, hey, this is what I see and this is what I don't see, so they know what level to give that? You know, whether it was just an investigative lead or whether they're giving, you know, a weight or conclusion to it. and then making sure that that's done. So that's a little bit outside of our scope that we do with this organization, but we are in the process, our training group is in the process of putting together a piece kind of about the position or a statement on things you might want to consider after you've been given that information to follow up on, to try to give them a little bit more guidance on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask, I'm glad you circled back to this because I'm curious. You have these standards. It's obviously a very well-respected group and very prominent, but do you have law enforcement agencies or governments formally committing we're going to follow FISWG standards on XYZ, or what is the relation? Like, what's the, I guess, enforcement mechanism of FISWG standards, if any?
I would say it comes down to the individual organization. Really, I know that there's organizations from around the world that follow these standards. They notify us. One of our things is you can use all our documents free of charge. We just ask if they're ever entered into evidence in court, that you notify us, and I get notifications from all over the world. Are these documents being used in court? On this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it. As far as formally declaring that they do it, that would be an organizational.
And I think also we draft a lot of different documents that are covering a lot of different pieces. So not everybody they wouldn't all apply depending on your use case or your lines of business. So I think that because as we mentioned earlier, we're seeing people from all different backgrounds coming together to write these documents. And then at each meeting, we focus on, okay, where's the goal of the week is which documents are we meant to develop? And then we feed into those. And then the next time there'll be additional documents, and then people will use, I think, what helps guide their process and which procedures best suit what they need them for, kind of thing.
So more of like a resource than an edict, yes.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there are best practice guidelines that have been developed by the subject matter experts coming together in forums to have consensus. And so I think that's, if you respect that and think that it's, what we're producing. Plus, they also go out for public comment, right? So they do have a process that people can weigh in and feed into what's being developed out of the FISWG as well. That then we'll come back and adjudicate all of those comments. So it is going through it's not just us just writing them, right? We are getting the feedback and going through it. And I think that to go back to your question is the just the conversations that come out of the discussions to write the documents and the use cases that people bring forward and their experiences. And again, we don't have to go into a detail or case specifics, but just we can bring a lot of experience to the table, which those help write the documents, but it also is something that you're going to take back as well, just into your regular daily work, because, okay, I know that in Spain they're doing this particular thing. Yeah, that's really smart. Like maybe we should think about implementing something like that. So I think that the conversations that come just from, we're all pretty much practitioner level, right? So it's all at the working level, but all working level. So everybody's bringing in real experience. And then we have a lot of the academics. So they're, again, focused on looking at research to be able to support what we're writing. So they're good voices to come into the table and say, well, we've done studies looking at this, this, and this, and we think that this should be reflected in the document. And they have kind of the additional science to back it. We were just saying earlier, okay, our academics are coming from where? Like psychology and anatomical sciences and anthropology, feeding into this. So they bring a lot of value as well to what we write.
And when we meet, especially in person, we open it up to our membership, to give presentations, and they'll give presentations on what they're working on, research trends, or things of that nature. So we're all learning, in addition to writing these documents throughout the week. So it's just great networking. I mean, especially worldwide. I mean, you can't beat that. I really can't. And I've never seen an organization like this ever function. And like I said, it just still boggles my mind that this is all voluntary. We have no budget. This is all individual organizations coming together to do this.
The organizations that we work for support it for us to come and work, which is like an additional, right?
I think that speaks to the quality of the documents and the work that we do, that government departments primarily across the world are funding people to come here because they see the importance of the documents and the work that we produce. And we're then, implementing that in our own SOPs and processes that we're doing our daily work.
It does seem unique. Like I can't think of another, it was just like international group like that. Usually somebody's asking for money for people to attend or paying people to attend. But yeah, this seems to be unique to this particular field, which I think speaks to, I guess, the importance of it.
Yeah, important, the passion. There's, I mean,
Mhm.
like I said, we said before, I mean, everyone's an SME, subject matter expert in this field, and they're passionate to make sure that, it's done the best of its ability, because it does such great work. I mean, it's a game changer.
Maybe it's both. Maybe there's still a lot of growth in discipline as well.
That's true.
So I think that it's because of the tech side, I think it's growing fast, right? It's faster than we can keep up with some days, but I think that's also like a big contributing factor because it's not a discipline that's been around for 100 years, that's, making changes, still, yes, improving and writing better documents and making things up to date. But here it's like, okay, everything's moving fast. We see even the growth in the group, new players coming in because they're bringing in the tech side as well, right? So now we have new interest that maybe for a while it was pretty, I don't want to use the word stagnant, it's not the right word, but like we were consistent, we were stable. And then I feel like then there was like a big boost in the use of FR technology that brought in a completely new side.
Like Anelia said, I mean, 8-9 years ago when I started, the algorithms that we used for the software side compared to the algorithms we're using now, night and day.
Right.
Night and day improvement. It's amazing on how much better they've gotten and accurate they've gotten.
So about the like basically the information exchange, that's what's happening here. You're in Toronto this year. I think it changes which city the annual meeting is in, but
again, it's a voluntary host. So
Okay.
it's also the host that is willing to be able to support the meeting.
Right.
So again, because we don't pay for the venues.
Yeah. So everybody comes in and people sign up to give, I guess, lectures and talks, and everybody's kind of like sharing notes, and then like I'm kind of curious just what is going on here. You all came here, you're talking to each other. Are you all going to leave with stuff to work on? Are you coming out of this with homework and like we're going to follow up on this and this?
The key is that we are a working group, right?
Mhm.
The FISWG, the WG is working group, and that's what we're here working. We're writing the documents here, so we come together to be able to have. We also meet once a year virtually. So we did that mostly because of the international presence and to make travel and support from our agencies a bit easier to be able to meet twice a year. So we're coming in and meeting and writing the documents. So we do have presentations throughout to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, in general, it's writing.
Yeah, we break out in those different groups that we talked about, those that have that expert in that specific little niche within the field. And we have a roadmap. We have a chair that chairs each one. We have a vice chair. We have structure. We have bylaws, that we abide by, and we vote for documents. So it's rather organized, exactly how we do it. And like you said, we're at the whim of whoever wants to host us next. So right now we're looking at the next one is going to be somewhere back in the United States. This was actually our first meeting that we've got to go outside of the U.S. So thank you, Canada.
Our pleasure.
Thank
on
you.
behalf of Canada.
On behalf of Canada, appreciate that. Toronto Police Services, are awesome, giving us this great facility to work at here. But yeah, we move it around and then like you said, virtually. And then in between the meetings too, we'll work on documents. So those individual subcommittees will work on documents too. So the work doesn't stop because we couldn't do it all in 1 week. But it is a long week, like you said. We put the WG in the working group.
We do have
Yes.
to go back at night and review documents from each other group. So it's not siloed. We'll get our documents from, say, the training group, and we go back tonight and we'll go through and we put comments, and then we will go through and adjudicate them toward the end of the week.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, we respect your time and are really grateful that you came and talked with us. I guess the last thing probably should just be if, number one, do you want more people to get involved? Who should get involved? How can they get involved? If there's any room for people to help with the group.
Absolutely. Like the discipline evolves and changes, and we have big challenges with what you talked a little bit about AI and how things are changing. And I think getting people on board that have skills that can help enhance our documents is.
We do have requirements, though.
Yeah.
We do have requirements.
Yes.
So
I'm not getting
into
it. Yeah.
yeah, there are people that will, they have to be relevant to the discipline. We do screen them first, and be willing to participate. So you actually can't become a full member or delegate until you've attended at least 2 of our meetings, and then you're voted on by the governing board on whether we're going to bring you in as a member or associate member, and to also keep that distance of control. So vendors, non-government agencies can't be a full member. They can only be an associate member. To be a full member, it has to be, a government entity, a not-for-profit. And really the only difference is full members can hold an elected position within the organization. Both associate members and regular members they both vote on all documents. They just can't be in one of the elected positions. So we keep that balance and keep that separation to make sure that it's not driven by, a company or organization that would profit off of this. But we're doing it for the discipline. Make sure we got it right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's wise. But thank you again, really, this was really interesting. We're really grateful for your time.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, and for your listeners, www.fiswig.org for our documents. We're always posting them out for public comment. We encourage anybody to participate in that. The more the better. So we can adjudicate that, make sure we get it right, and to see all the different angles and anything that we may have missed too.
And we'll be sure to include any links in the show notes so people can just click on them and listen to the episode.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That was great.